Jaya Radha Madhava Kunja Vihari Jaya Radha Madhava Kunja Vihari Gopi Janavalabha Girivanadari Gopi Janavalabha Girivanadari Jaya Radha Madhava Kunja Vihari Jaya Radha Madhava Kunja Vihari Gopi Janna Vallabha Girivanadari Gopi Janna Vallabha Girivanadari Sodanandana Brajajana Ranjana Jasodanandana Brajajana Ranjana Jamuna Tira Vanachari Yamuna Tira Vanachari Jaya Radha Madhava Kunja Vihari Jaya Radha Madhava Kunja Vihari Gopi Janna Vallabha Girivanadari Gopi Janna Vallabha Girivanadari Sodanandana Pratijana Ranjana Jasodanandana Pratijana Ranjana Jamuna Tira Vanachari Yamuna Tira Vanachari Hare Krishna, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare, Hare Krishna, Krishna. Hare Krishna, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare, Hare Krishna. Jai Vishnupad Paramahamsa Previjakacharya Asatya Srimad, His Divine Grace Srila A.C. Bhaktivedanta Swami Srila Prabhupada Ki Anantakota Vaishnavani Ki Jai Namacharya Srila Haridas Thakur Ki Jai ISKCON Founder Acharya Srila Prabhupada Ki Jai Prem Sikha Shri Krishna Chaitanya Prabhu Nityananda Shri Advaita Gadadhar Srivasadi Gaur Bhaktivedanta Ki Jai Shri Shri Radha Krishna Gopiyas Samakun Vadakun Giri Govardhan Ki Jai Shri Vrindavandam Ki Jai, Shri Maya Purnavidam Ki Jai, Gangamaya Ki Jai, Jamunamaya Ki Jai, Tulsi Devi Ki Jai, Bhakti Devi Ki Jai, Samaveda Bhaktivinoda Ki Jai, Transcendental Book Distribution Ki Jai, Harinam Sankirtan Ki Jai, Go Premanandi, all glories some devotees, all glories some devotees, all glories some devotees, all glories Shri Guru and Shri Gauranga. So as you might remember, on Gaur Pranim, I was going to read this story of Lord Chaitanya, Lord Nityananda, and Maharaj said, well, next time you give class, go ahead and read it. So this is continuation of Lord Chaitanya's pastimes. This is from the Madhya Khanda of the Chaitanya Bhagavata. One day, Mother Sachi had a dream, which she narrated to her son Vishwambar in a solitary place. Quote, early this morning I had a dream in which I saw you and Nityananda. Both of you appeared like 5-year-old boys. You were quarreling together and chasing each other. In this way you both entered the deity room and came out holding Krishna and Balaram in your hands. He had Krishna in his hands and you had Balaram. Then I clearly saw the 4 of you quarreling together. The deities of Krishna and Balaram angrily said, quote, who are you impostors? Get out of here. This house, these rooms, this sandesh, this yogurt, and this milk all belong to us. Then Nityananda said, those days when you stole yogurt and butter to eat are gone. The days of the cowherd boys are over. Now the Brahmanas have taken charge. Recognize us and allow us to eat all the offerings. If you do not affectionately allow us to eat, then you will be beaten. Moreover, if we forcibly eat, who can stop us? Then Ram and Krishna said, quote, it will not be our fault if we bind you impostors here today. Then Balaram threatened Nityananda, in the name of Krishna, you better not misbehave here today. Nityananda replied, I am not afraid of your Krishna, for my Lord is Gaurachandra, Vishwambar. In this way the 4 of you quarreled and forcibly ate each other's food. Someone grabbed another's food and ate, and someone ate the food from another's mouth with his own mouth. Then Nityananda called me and said, oh mother, Please, give me some rice. I am hungry. When Nityananda said this to me, I woke up, but I could not understand anything. So I am relating this to you. After hearing the topics of her dream, Lord Vishwambar laughed and spoke to his mother in sweet words. "Oh, mother, you have certainly seen a most auspicious dream. Please, do not disclose this to anyone. The deities of our house are full of life, and your dream has firmly established this fact in my heart. I often see that half of the foods that I offer vanish. Feeling shy, I don't tell anyone about this. I had some doubt about your daughter-in-law, but today that doubt has been removed." Vishnupriya Devi, the mother of the universe, smiled on hearing the words of her husband. She had heard the entire narration of the dream from within another room. Vishwambar said, "O mother, please hear my words. Let us immediately call Nityananda here to feed him." Mother Sachi was pleased to hear these words of her son and began gathering the ingredients for lunch. Lord Vishwambar quickly went to Nityananda's residence and invited him for lunch. "O Gosani, today you should take lunch at our house, but I tell you beforehand, do not create any mischief." Nityananda held his ears and said, "Vishnu, Vishnu, only madmen create mischief. I think you consider me a mischief monger because you think everyone is like yourself." Speaking in this way, they both laughed and went on their way. Then they proceeded to the house while discussing topics of Krishna on the way. They both smiled as they sat down together, accompanied by their intimate associates like Gadadhar. Ishana gave them water to wash their feet. Then the Lord and Nityananda went to eat lunch. The mood in which the two lords sat eating together resembled that of of Sri Ram and Lakshman at the house of Kaushalya. In this way the two lords ate their lunch in the same mood, with the same affection as the same persons. As Mother Sati happily served them, she set out 3 plates by mistake, and they both laughed. As Mother Sachi happily served them, she set out 3 plates by mistake, and they both began to laugh. When she returned to serve them more, she directly saw them as 5-year-old boys. She saw 2 enchanting boys, one with a whitish complexion and the other with a blackish. Both had 4 arms, and both were naked. She saw they had the conch, disc, club, lotus, plow, mushal, mark of Shivats, the Kaustuba gem, and their ears were decorated with shark-shaped earrings. She saw her daughter-in-law on the chest of her son. Then suddenly the whole scene disappeared. She fell on the ground unconscious, and all her clothes became wet with tears. Rice was scattered throughout the entire room. On seeing this wonderful sight, Sachi forgot herself. Mahaprabhu hurriedly washed his hands and picked up his mother. "Oh, mother, please get up. Calm yourself. Why did you suddenly fall to the ground?" On regaining her consciousness, Mother Sachi quickly tied her hair. She did not say anything as she wept inside one of the rooms. She breathed heavily, and her entire body trembled. She was filled with ecstasy, and nothing else came to mind. Pretty amazing pastime. So now we'll go on to the Srimad Bhagavatam. So which verse is it today? 21. 5th canto, 14th chapter, 21. Okay, Javeda, would you like to... Oh yeah. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. So reading from the Srimad Bhagavatam, Canto 5, Chapter 14, text number 21. Javita, please.
Kadachid Bhagnamana Dangstro Durjana Dandashuka Alabda Nindrachano Vyatata Vidiyena Nukshiyamana Vigano Ndakupenda Patati.
In the forest of the material world, the soul is sometimes bitten by envious enemies, which are compared to serpents and other creatures. Through the tricks of the enemy, the conditioned soul falls from his prestigious position. Being anxious, he cannot even sleep properly. He thus becomes more and more unhappy, and he gradually loses his intelligence and consciousness. In that state, he becomes almost perpetually like a blind man who has fallen into a dark well of ignorance. Maybe I'll say a little bit about this first, then we'll go on. There's no purport. Om Gyanatamadandasya Gunanjana Salakaya Chakshum Militam Jena Tasmai Sri Gurave Namaha Mukram Kotavachalang Pangunlang Haide Gurim Yat Kripa Tadaham Bande Sri Gurum Dinataranam Vanchikapayu Vyascha Kripa Sindhu Devacha Patitanam Pavnebhyo Vaishnavebhyo Namo Namaha Jaya Sri Krishna Chaitanya Prabhu Nityananda Shri Advaita Gadadhar Sivasadi Gaur Bhaktavinda Hare Krishna 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 Hare 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 Rama 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 Hare Hare. So this first sentence says, in the forest of the material world, the conditioned soul is sometimes bitten by envious enemies, which are compared to serpents and other creatures. There's a statement that no enemy is as dangerous as the enemy you don't know about, or that you're blind to. Most people in the world don't know that their enemy is their own mind. And whatever their mind says, they think that's themselves. That's me. Whatever my mind says, that's me. They don't know that actually it's the greatest enemy. So, actually, there's a statement in the Chaitanya Kala Kalir Balina Indri Vairi Kala Kalir Balina Indri Vairi Shri Bhakti Marga. You know that? Shri, yeah, Kantikoti Rudha, yes. That in the age of Kali, the senses, the mind, the senses are very powerful. And in this age, the path of bhakti is spiked by millions of thorny obstacles. Actually, this is by Prabodhananda Saraswati Thakur. And he says to Lord Chaitanya, therefore, my dear Lord, if you are not merciful to me, then where will I go? What will I do? So, this age of Kali, it's a very degraded age. And the mind is so powerful. The senses are pushing, mind is pushing, it's so difficult. But Krishna says in the Bhagavad Gita, Machchita sarvadargani maprasarat rishasi athachatang ahankar dashoshasi vanangshasi. That if one becomes conscious of me, Krishna says, then one can cross over all the obstacles, millions of them. It's amazing, just be conscious of me, and you'll cross over all the obstacles on your bhakti path. So, although it's so difficult in this age to control the mind and senses, just by thinking of Krishna. Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Ram, Ram Ram. Iti sadasakam nama, kali kama sanasam, nata protopara, sarva vedesha drishyate. That if one wants to become free of all the contamination of this age and counteract all the sins of Kali Yuga, there is no alternative than to chanting the Hare Krishna mantra. This is custom made for Kali Yuga. Lord Chaitanya is very merciful. He's come in and given us this very nice process of turning our enemy into our friend. That's rare. But there's an amazing thing I heard about, actually this is just in the karmi world. There was one criminal who killed some young man and went to court, and the mother of the young man that was killed was there in the courtroom. And of course he was guilty and he's sentenced, I don't know, 20 years in jail or so. But before the police took him, she went up to him, the mother of the person he had killed, and she said to him, "I'm going to kill you," and then walked away. He went to prison, and she was the only person that would go and visit him in prison. And then the time, maybe he might have got it earlier or something. But after years and years, she was the only one that would visit. And then when time came for him to get out, she said, "Well, where are you going to go now?" He said, "I don't know." She said, "Well, you can come and stay with me." And he did. And she helped him. And she said, "Do you remember when I told you I'm going to kill you?" What I was thinking, I'm going to kill the evil in you. I'm going to kill the evil in you. And he became a good person by her guidance. Amazing, huh? You would think that, the killer of your son would be the enemy, right? Because it's part of your own body practically, have a son. But he became a friend. Amazing, huh? Oh, years ago. I remember reading it somewhere. True story. You remember reading it too? Yeah, he remembers reading it too. Yeah. True story. Amazing. Yeah, it just touches the heart, Some people can just be so selfless and so good-natured. It's just amazing, I mean, that's like, that's something that could be in the Bhagavatam. It's in the Bhagavatam now. So, and a devotee doesn't think of anyone as an enemy. It's like King Yudhisthira. Others thought of him as an enemy, but he never thought of anyone as an enemy. Such a pure soul. So, and this is possible to have this this pure consciousness by the practice of Krishna consciousness. We become pure. We become free of all of envy and lust and greed and all the contamination that that can be there in the conditioned soul. So, yeah, sometimes Prabhupada actually gives an example of sometimes you don't know who your enemy is. It's like he gave the example of sometimes kings, they will raise a young girl, and they'll put little very small quantities of poison in their food. So it's not, it doesn't affect them, it doesn't kill them, but and then they put more, and the body becomes immune to it. And then they put more and more poison, and then when they have some enemy they want to kill, this she's grown up now, and she goes there and she gives the enemy a killer kiss, literally. And within 20 minutes he's dead. Literally a killer kiss. He doesn't know who the enemy. He thinks that this beautiful girl is something enjoyable. I'll have a good time here. But his enemy. So actually, we'll just go on to the next verse. Dvita, you want to chant that verse? Text 22.
Karismachit kama madulavan vichindan yada padadhara padadravyan yavarundano ragya swami bir va nihitak patatchapare niraye.
The conditioned soul is sometimes attracted to the little happiness derived from sense gratification. Thus he has illicit sex or steals another's property. At such a time, he may be arrested by the government or chastised by the woman's husband or protector. Thus, simply for a little material satisfaction, he falls into a hellish condition and is put into jail for rape, kidnapping, theft, and so forth. Purport. Material life is such that due to indulgence in illicit sex, gambling, intoxication, and meat eating, the conditioned soul is always in a dangerous condition. Meat eating and intoxication excite the senses more and more, and the conditioned soul falls victim to women. In order to keep women, money is required, and to acquire money one begs, borrows, or steals. Indeed, he commits abominable acts that cause him to suffer both in this life and the next. Consequently, illicit sex must be stopped by those who are spiritually inclined or who are on the path of spiritual realization. Many devotees fall down due to illicit sex. They may steal money and even fall down from the highly honored, renounced order. I'll just in case I forget something on my mind, then we'll go on with the purport. The Prabhupada also tells of one godbrother who was a sannyasi, very respected in the Gaudiya Math. But, as it's mentioned here, sometimes one becomes bewildered by sex desire, by material nature. So he fell down, and before he left the temple, he took many jewels from the deities. Then he got married and had a son. And the son was maybe 12 years old, 13 years old. And he found that his mother was having an affair with another man. And he told his mother, "I'm going to tell father about this." She killed him. And then when the father, the ex-sannyasi, found out that his son had been killed by his wife who was having an affair, he committed suicide. Yeah. Such is the material world. For a few, minutes of pleasure, all chaos. He loses his life. He loses his son's, just for some flickering pleasure. It's amazing. Huh? True story. Oh, yeah. Yeah. This happened back in the 1930s or so. So this gives you an idea of how the senses are just so powerful. The mind, the senses are so powerful. But the best way to deal with temptation is to don't deal with it. Don't deal with it. Apoyamanam machala pratishnam samudamapa pavasantiya tadat kamayam pavasanti sarve. So santim apnotin the kami. One who is not disturbed by the incessant flow of desires which enter like rivers into the ocean, which is always being filled, but which is always steady, alone achieves peace, and not the person who strives to satisfy such desires. So we shouldn't strive to satisfy these material desires that just cause havoc, chaos in our life. But the desires to serve Krishna, to please the spiritual master, these desires we should try to fulfill wholeheartedly as much as we can. So now, continuing on with the purport. Then, for a livelihood, they accept menial services and become beggars. It is therefore said in the Shastra, Yanmai tanadi grihimedi sukhami tu jam. Srimad Bhagavatam 7.9.45. Materialism is based on sex, whether licit or illicit. Prabhupada one time he said the same thing. Basically it's the same thing. Sex is full of dangers, even for those who are addicted to household life. Whether one has a license for sex or not, here it is. There is great trouble. Bahudukka bhak. After one indulges in sex, many volumes of misery ensue. one suffers more and more in material life. A miserly person cannot properly utilize the wealth he has. And similarly, a materialistic person misuses the human form. Instead of using it for spiritual emancipation, he uses the body for sense gratification. Therefore, he is called a miser. In the first sentence here in the purport, Prabhupada says, material life is such that due to indulgence in illicit sex, gambling, intoxication, and meat-eating, the conditioned soul is always in a dangerous condition. So one may ask, well, how is it dangerous? Well, I just mentioned that. Actually, there's many instances, thousands all around the world, where a man, he has some illicit affair with another man's wife, and he's killed, or another man's girlfriend or something, and he's killed. And I was watching one of our ISKCON videos. Devotees, they go to prison and they preach. And this one video, devotee was interviewing the prisoners and asking, well, why are you in prison? And one of them said, well, my best friend had an affair with my wife. I killed him. Best friend. It's amazing, huh? Killed him. And this happens so much. People just lose control. So it's dangerous. It's dangerous. Not only for in a materialistic way, one's material life, but in spiritual life. One engages in illicit sex, and one's spiritual life just goes asunder, just goes down, like it's a sinful activity. It's very difficult to understand that one is a spirit soul and is engaged in sinful activity, especially illicit sex, because it's such a bodily function. So, and here it's mentioned also gambling. So how is gambling dangerous? People win a lot of money. Sometimes people win a lot of money, and people are attracted to a lot of money, and they'll rob them and sometimes kill them, because people like that money. They'll steal and kill. So many things people will do for money. Prabhupada said that we're also, by practicing Krishna consciousness, we're also, in one sense, we're gambling. Because gambling, what does gambling mean? That means you put something up front at stake and you try to get something more. So we're giving our life to Krishna. We're giving a lot. We're giving our life to Krishna. But we don't know what the result is going to be. Right? We don't know. Oh, we know it's going to be positive, but we don't know. I mean, we're shooting for the jackpot. What's the jackpot? Going back to Godhead, yeah. Going back home, that's the jackpot. That's what we're shooting for. We may not get that jackpot, but we'll have an auspicious situation. We'll be born into a Brahmana family, or some situation that will be conducive for a further advancement in spiritual life. But we may not get what we want. So, a little subtle gamble. There's no loss of diminution. That's true. But yeah, it's a subtle gamble. But even while we're doing this gamble, it's a nice life, right? Nice prasadam. Can't beat the association. And you got Dravida Prabhu and Balaram Prabhu and Amoga Prabhu and Dimitri, Bhakti Dimitri, so many nice devotees. Govardhan Prabhu, so much nice association. And we just went to this nice festival in Laguna Beach, and so many wonderful devotees, so many sannyasis, nice devotees now have been practicing, over 50 years, giving nice realizations of Krishna consciousness. Jayabheta Swami he started out at Brahmachari 54 years ago, went right on to take sannyas. He's coming here. When? When's he coming? He's coming in a few days, not within a week. He'll be here for a week. I heard, yeah. So get some association, get some realizations. Also, Giriraj Maharaj, joined in 69, right? Yeah, 53 years. Same, brahmachari, went right on into sannyas. So many nice realizations. We heard he was coming, but then it didn't happen. Is there any news on that? Maybe sometime soon. Okay. So yeah, so many nice devotees, practicing Krishna consciousness. So this gives us some inspiration. So Prabhupada said that by these four activities, we lose, there's pillars of religiosity. And illicit sex destroys austerity. And austerity is actually, it's a very important part of the human form of life. And even it said, Nayang deho dehabhajam naloke kustam kaman arhate vidbhujangye. Tapo divyang putakayena satung sudyad jasmad brahmasokyam tunantam. Of persons who have accepted the human form of life, they shouldn't waste their time engaging in activities of the animals, eating, sleeping, mating, and defending. But they should engage in the activities, they should engage in austerities. That's the purpose of the human form of life, by which we can attain brahmasokyam tvanantam, actual happiness, spiritual happiness. So that's actually people aren't taught that in the school. The purpose of the human form of life is austerity. You never hear that in the universities or schools. You never hear that. What is the purpose of the human form of life? Satisfy the senses as much as you can. That's what we're taught. And when you go to the university, that's where you really learn how to enjoy. Such nonsense. So yeah, Prabhupada came and he gave us real education. The education of detachment. The education of austerity. And the material world, they're taught the education of sense gratification. Just do as much as you can to get as much pleasure as you can in this world. Just do it. Yeah. That's actually, I thought that was revealing, that was in connection with illicit sex, but actually it's a Nike advertisement. I thought the same thing, but yeah, that can apply. Just do it. That's whatever you want in sense in the material world, just do it. Just go for it. Don't hold back. Don't let anybody hold you back. Just go for it. Just do it. But no, actually, by austerity, we become peaceful. We become satisfied. We become happy, especially if the austerity is for Krishna. And therefore it's stated, Yat kroshi, yadasnasi, yajujuhosi didasya, yatapasyasi kaunte, tat krushamararpan. All that you do, this is austerity. All that you do, all that you eat, all that you offer and give away, as well as all austerities you perform, they should be done as an offering to me. And from this, we attain happiness, inner happiness. From gambling, one loses what? Truthfulness, yes. Truthfulness. One loses truthfulness from gambling. Because when people become feverish for gambling, people would just lose all common sense. They gamble away their homes. They gamble away their cars. They say that gambling is one of the most addictive things that one can do. And they just lose their mind. They just lose everything. Sometimes they just lose everything. In Australia, I have one friend, devotee friend, who has a brother who worked at a gambling casino. And what they do is they put bars on the windows, because they're, sometimes they're high casino, the buildings are high, and people lose all their money and they jump out the window. So it was such a big problem, they had to put bars on the window so that people wouldn't jump out the window anymore. just lose everything. So gambling it's actually intoxicating. They think, no, I'll win. They lose everything. Yeah. Intoxication. So intoxication, actually, as Prabhupada many times pointed out, they don't need to take any intoxicant. They're already so intoxicated, with the false ego and pride, like that. No, they don't need to take any more intoxication. And intoxication destroys cleanliness. Yes, there's people that are intoxicated. They get drunk and they're just falling out. You come out of the bar and they fall in the gutter. And they have the smell of alcohol on their breath. Yeah. So one's cleanliness is destroyed. And meat eating, mercy. Yes, one becomes merciless by killing animals. So in the Srimad Bhagavatam, it's stated, Samasataye parapalava plavam mahaparam punya somarare bhavam buddhir vatsa param yadvi param natesam. That for one who has taken shelter of the lotus feet of Krishna, which is also the shelter of the entire universe, for such a person, this vast ocean of material existence becomes no bigger than the water contained in the hoofprint of a calf. And such persons, their aspiration is the jackpot, the spiritual world. Not this place where there's danger at every step. As Prabhupada mentions, or actually in this verse it's mentioned that this is a dangerous place. It's a very dangerous place. Danger at every step. Such a dangerous place. But if we take shelter of Krishna, then Krishna, he protects his devotee. Yeah. And this is one of the symptoms of surrender, that a devotee accepts Krishna as his only protection. Krishna will protect me. Like there's an amazing pastime of this one devotee. Some of you know Bhagavata Prabhu. He was distributing books down in South America. And 2 criminals came to him with knives. Give me your money. And Bhagavata, he thought, these people look so crazy, they'll probably kill me anyway. So he just took shelter of Lord Nrsingadev. And he has a very loud voice. So he just closed his eyes and started chanting, Namaste Narasringaya Pralada Lada Dayan. He chanted the whole Nrsinga prayers, very loud. Then he opened his eyes. He didn't see them. Then he looked down, and they were offering respects to him. They were on their knees. In South America, even the criminals are pious. So they said, "Please forgive us. We didn't know you were a saintly person. We can understand that you're a saintly person from the way you were praying. Please forgive us." And some devotees told me that before these criminals, they go and do their crime, they go by the church and they do the offer respects to Jesus. So Bhagavata told these criminals, he said, "It's okay, but please don't do this anymore. God is not pleased by your activities." And he gave them an invitation to the temple. And here you can learn more about God. Okay, sorry. So Krishna protects his devotee. And this verse I chanted, Nayang Deho Deyabhajam Nalok. This was chanted by someone who got major protection, Prahlad Maharaj. Imagine the father tried to kill him in so many ways. Tried to boil him in oil. Prahlad Pakori tried to make him do. Tried to get him stomped over by an elephant. And he sent these, he had these guys, Chindi Bindi, And these guys with spears to pierce him. There's so many ways. Tried to throw him off a cliff. They threw him off a cliff. And Krishna caught him. So because he was so Krishna conscious, he was always protected. So this is the key to protection. Not only protection materially, but Krishna will protect us from Maya if we're Krishna conscious. So this is the key, that we have to somehow engage in devotional service, and this is what pleases Krishna the most. Bhakti parasana bhava viraktanyata chaisatuka ekakala prapadyamana jastastu tusti pusti kshinagayana gasa. That by rendering devotional service, three things automatically occur by rendering service to Krishna. One, we attain love for Krishna. By service to Krishna, we attain love for Krishna. We become detached from material life. And we get direct experience of Krishna by rendering devotional service. Just as when we eat, we get nourishment. We have nice, healthy prasadam here. We experience pleasure. Got some pretty good cooks here. Mahabharats, and they're cooking it up right now. We're all looking forward to some nice prasad eventually, after Krishna's honored his nice offering. And then become detached eventually. It's like you might be eating a feast. Nice feast. Very tasty, and you're eating, and then the sweets come. And the nice sweets. And you're just full. And then someone comes by and says, Prabhu, you want some more? No, thank you. I'm full. Then they do the LSD, left side duty. So, this is the result of devotional service. We attain love for Krishna. This is the ultimate perfection of the human form of life. Is to attain love for Krishna. And that's there in the Bible also, to learn to love thy God with thy heart, thy soul, and thy might. In all religions. So devotional service is the way, the truth, and the light. Doesn't matter which religion you're in. If you're loving God, if you develop your love for God, that's wonderful. Just like I might have mentioned this story before. There was one young man. He was a son of a Baptist minister, and he got one of Prabhupada's books, and he was so attracted. He was just amazed about the teachings that are offered in this Krishna consciousness movement. And he took it was a BTG, took it home, and his mother saw it and said, "What is this? Back to God. You can't read this stuff." He took it, never saw it again. Then he got another book from somebody else, but he didn't let his mother see this. And he was just amazed. And he met the devotees, and eventually he joined the movement. And his father, Baptist minister, found out that his son had become a Hare Krishna. So his son called and, keep in touch, let him, know what he's doing. So the father said, "Son, you grew up a Christian. You're a good Christian boy. How is it you become a Hare Krishna?" And his son said, "Father, for the first time in my life, I'm feeling some love for God." And you can imagine the father must be astounded. But the father had some integrity. He said, "Well, then continue on, son. And I hope you have all success in your developing your love for God." So that was good integrity. Instead of, smashing him and criticizing him. He encouraged him. So this is the result of devotional service. We develop our love for Krishna. And it's there. Nitya Siddha Krishna Prema Sajjikabanoy Shravanari Sudachite Kuryayodoy. It's there already. It's just covered. So we're just trying to uncover, as it said that we're doing. This is what are they doing? They renovate a building. When someone renovates a building, they gut it. They call it gutting it. Just taking all the stuff, all the loose stuff out of the building, and then they renovate it. They fix it up. So that's what we're doing. We're gutting it. We're taking all the garbage out of our heart, all the nonsense, all the contamination out of the heart, and filling it with Krishna. We're renovating our hearts. Take all the nonsense out and filling it with Krishna. So therefore we have to constantly hear and chant the glories of Krishna. And eventually there'll be just Krishna in our heart, in our mind, and no garbage, no nonsense. Yeah. This is the goal. So, is there any question or comments? Or correction? Good, maybe there was, yeah. Javira Prabhu.
You attributed the Nayam Deo verse to Prahlad.
Was that Prahlad that said that?
No.
Oh, was it Lord Shabdi? I'm sorry. Thank you. Thank you for that, Javira. It's always good to have Javira here. Eh? Now, I wanted to mention something else. This verse is in the very famous verse in the purport. Prabhupada says this, Yanmai tunadi grihamedi sukhambhi tuchtam, where it said that sex life is compared to the rubbing of two hands together to relieve an itch. And so-called grihastas and grihamedis think that this itching is the greatest satisfaction, but actually it's the cause of the greatest suffering. It's an itch. Prabhupada was given a class in Bombay. And one devotee, he had some Band-Aid on his arm or something. And Prabhupada said, what happened? Oh, Prabhupada, it's just a mosquito bite. And I was scratching it. And Prabhupada said, yes. You get an itch, and you scratch it, and you scratch it, and you scratch it. And it feels so good. You scratch it, and you scratch it. Then, blood. So that's the material world. You get some itch. You try to satisfy some material desire, but then you suffer. Right? And sex life is actually it's samana is blood, right? Concentrated blood. So we lose our samana. You lose your blood. Yeah. So better to tolerate. Just like if you get unfortunately we don't get mosquitoes here. I saw a couple. I found a couple in Los Angeles. I haven't seen any here, but in Miami, oh my God, they'll take you away. There's like oh man, there's so many, millions of mosquitoes there. Especially they come just when the sun is going down. That's when their time enters. You take shelter. You know? Millions of them. So when you get bit, you just tolerate it. And I know some devotees, they couldn't tolerate it. They'll just scratch and scratch and scratch, and then blood. You can't tolerate it. You got to tolerate. This sex desire also, it's an itch. It's just an itch. Let it go. It'll go away. Just like a mosquito bite, it'll go away. The itch will go away. You know? I mean, it comes and goes, but when it comes, let it go. Let it go. It'll come and go. Let it go. Just chant Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Ram, Ram Ram, Hare Hare. This helps us to let it go. Yeah? Take shelter of Krishna. This is the happiness of the soul. Sex life is the happiness of the body, but it's a flickering, temporary happiness. But the happiness of the soul, it's ever increasing. And the result is you experience unlimited happiness. Result of material sex life, misery. Nata tasya bhavet klesha bandhas chanya prasangataha. Of all types of suffering and misery that arise due to material contact, none is greater than the suffering one experiences in the association of the opposite sex, man for woman, woman for man. Yeah. So this is Krishna speaking. Uddhava Gita, he says, there's no suffering greater than the suffering one experiences in the opposite sex, in the association of the opposite sex. And therefore there's this book called Men Are From Mars and Women Are From Venus. Yeah. They're different. And that book sold millions. It was a bestseller. Because everybody could identify this. It's incompatible. Of course, sometimes there's nice relationships. I mean, just like Bhattahari Prabhu, he was up there in Laguna Beach. Unfortunately, he was a little ill. Wonderful devotee, and he has a wonderful wife, very Krishna conscious. So there's the examples are there. So that's also there, but because they're very Krishna conscious, Krishna is in the center of their life. An amazing devotee, gives wonderful lectures, wonderful kirtan. Yeah. Because Krishna's in the center. If Krishna's in the center, prominently, then it could be a wonderful marriage life. Prabhupada was married. Bhaktivinoda Thakur, how many children? 10 children. So Krishna conscious. Yeah. You have a question? Dimitri Prabhu
Just
has
a little
question.
comment.
Yes.
I remember
A
watching a
comment.
class. It's about book distribution, and there's a really funny story how if you fully surrender to Krishna, one of the first things that you feel is that you have no fear. And devotees in
If one of the first things you feel is what?
no fear. You
No
become
fear,
fearless.
okay.
And devotees in Russia were distributing books door to door. And one time they go to one of these apartments and they knock on the door opens, and they pull out a gun in their face. And devotee just goes like this, the gun to the side. Hey, excuse me, we're here to show you some books. Please let us in. And they let him in. And eventually, after speaking for some time, they actually took the books, and they were really amazed with the character of the devotees.
So for those of you that are on the internet, you didn't see that. The person, he knocked on the door, devotee knocked on the door, and someone put a gun to his face, and the devotee just moved the gun from his face and said, yeah, nice to meet you. We'll just have these nice books we want to show you here. He is completely fearless, just moved the gun away from him. And he became interested, evidently. Did he take books? Was that? He took books too? Devotees are fearless, yes.
Quick comment on scratching the itch. We don't do that in the Rockies. We do this. If you
Oh,
have
in the
your
Rockies,
clothes
you don't-
on,
you
actually
don't-
tap for an
You don't
implant.
scratch, you
don't
tap.
scratch, yeah, so you
You
won't get
tap
any
where the
blood.
mosquito is. I mean, then you don't.
It's true.
Then the blood doesn't come out. But the itch keeps coming, though.
Yeah.
The best thing is just leave it alone, and it'll go away. Not easy sometimes. Yeah, they're really itchy sometimes. But sex desire also really itches, so let it go. Yeah. Okay. Yes, Prabhu.
First of all, can you, really, in a short way, tell the story of Manidhar, when he put his finger in the...
Oh yeah. Manidhar, he was also distributing books, and same thing. Some guy came, give me your money, and he had the gun pointed at him, and Manidhar put his finger
in the
in
revolver.
the gun, in the barrel of the gun, and the guy couldn't believe it. He just cracked up laughing and left. He just couldn't believe it.
The way I heard it, I think from your book, he said, and Manidhar was smiling.
Oh, yeah,
he said,
now what are you
going to
do?
What are you going to do now?
He put the finger in there, and now what are you going to do? And then he laughed and left.
Just one more thing.
Yeah.
I saw this article, and it described how, because when I was growing up in the '60s, you're old enough to remember, the sexual revolution. You know what I mean? And the hippies are involved and everything, and other things. All of these uptight, restrictions of the '50s and all this stuff. We're going to break free. So that's been going on for a long time now. the 60s, now it's 50 years later, 60 years later. And what's happened is that many of the young people, after going from this one to that one, this one to that one, and especially the ladies, they don't want to have as much sex. They're having less sex now than they had before because it's so miserable what comes out of it. You told a few very graphic stories, but just the emotional toll, of not having a marriage and having the commitment, and the religion is just like coupling, and it's all this emotional stuff. And so in one sense, and not only that, but when people grow up, they're getting married later. They don't want to have children, and it's like a serious thing for society. The number of children being born is going down because marriage is taking place later and later if it takes place at all. So the whole thing is it's exactly confirming everything in the books. This is fleeting pleasure causes so much misery. Bahu dukkha bhaja, it's in that verse, Maitanadi. And so it's just the proof that, this structured marriage, you talked about a marriage and self-restraint and austerity, provided that you have Krishna consciousness with it, then that can produce the greatest pleasure and relief. One of the things I remember, as going through, this was when I was in Miami when the cocaine thing started. The big thing, first.
Is the microphone on?
It's on.
Okay.
Is that it was such a relief not to be part of that, not to even have any desire, for cocaine and crack cocaine and all this business, and to go through that and be thankful of how much you missed, quote, because of the four regulatives, the principles, and his lifestyle. What to speak of the consistent happiness and joy that you can experience without that. So it really is an experiment. The devotees who have been doing it for a long time, is that you don't feel, oh, I missed out, I didn't take this drug, that drug, this drug, that. No, thank God, you didn't have to do it. And about gambling, we had a fellow in the community, I'm going to name his names, who
put microphone close.
Who was an addict to this, and he couldn't restrain it. The gambling is so powerful, like you mentioned.
Yeah, we're very fortunate. Then we're following these four regular principles. It's a pure life. It's a nice life, and we're happily doing it. So, therefore, Prabhupada said our main activity is get this knowledge out to others, so they could also experience this happiness, devoid of all this sinful activity. They don't know their dark future from doing all these sinful activities. So we have to let them know, give out the good message, the transcendental message, the message of Godhead. Thank you very much. Srila Prabhupada ki jai.